Hey everybody, here's my guide to Arms PvE DPS, and I hope you enjoy it. First things first, with your spec, you should go 5417 with Poleaxe specialization. You can send me a message if you want more details on that. I like to go 262 hit rating so that you stay buffed in raids. And stat-wise, you can go Strength or Armor Pen, but note that Blizz meant to put a 25% buff on Armor Pen, but they only put a 2.5% buff. Here's a quick sample of my DPS. I was going to use the Heroic Dummy, but as you can see, people kept hitting it and putting on buffs and debuffs, and it kind of would have messed with my DPS. My first concept is Juggernaut with Enrage. Although I think Rend is the most important move for an Arms Warrior, if you crit, you get Enraged, increasing your damage by 10%. So when you charge, you get the Juggernaut buff, increasing your chance to crit with Mortal Strike and Slam by 25%, which helps keep that Enrage buff on the entire time you fight. My next concept, which I believe to be the most important, is Rend with Taste of Blood. When you keep Rend up, it triggers many effects, such as Blood Frenzy, and it triggers Taste of Blood. Taste of Blood gives you an overpower every 6 seconds, which I'm going to show you here. I apply Rend, which gives me Blood Frenzy, increasing my physical damage done, and then there's Overpower. I'm not doing any other moves at the moment, just showing that every 6 seconds my Overpower will proc. My next concept is Bladestorm with proc management. I think Bladestorm is an amazing move because it has 6 War Ones in 6 seconds, which is only 4 global cooldowns, and tied with procs can do a lot more damage. Along with this, you also do your normal melee swing. So although it can't happen all the time, here's a sample of me using Bladestorm with all my procs enabled. Sometimes you can't get them all to happen at the same time, so I still try to make sure I use Bladestorm every time it's off cooldown. Sudden Death is a great move because when it procs, your execute will only cost up to 30 rage, and will do regardless of health. Execute, however, is not nice because although it does a lot of damage, you won't be able to use your other moves as efficiently because it takes away all your rage. Here's the mob in IF that I was going to use at 1% health. Here's me using Sudden Death, I still have a lot of rage. When I full-blown execute, I lose it all. Here's a move that I think makes or breaks most Arms Warriors, Slam. I use Slam whenever I don't have a move readily available off global cooldown, whether that's Slam, Execute, etc. I see some people say to only use Slam when you have about 50 rage or things like that, but I don't follow that because if you spam Slam, you can still use your white damage melee, as I'm showing here. All I'm doing is using Slam. I'm not using any other moves except the Rend in the beginning just for kicks. As you notice, my white damage is still going off, so I'm still being able to generate rage, even though I'm spamming Slam. Although I think Heroic Strike is very important for Fury DPS, I see it as a huge hindrance to Arms DPS, and this is why. Unlike Slam, Heroic Strike replaces your melee swing, and with the necessity to burn every global cooldown on high rage moves such as Mortal Strike, you need as much rage as possible from your normal melee swing. Here's a video of me at 100 rage just using Heroic Strike. As you can see, by using Heroic Strike, it inefficiently burns my rage to 0. My 7th concept is macros. I really enjoy using macros, and I use them to try and optimize my DPS. Some people prefer not to use macros, but I think if you use them well, it can really enhance your DPS. Here are a few examples. The Wrathstone is my used trinket, so if you have another trinket, you could put it in that place, and with Sweeping Strikes, that's great for AoE. Here's perhaps my favorite macro combination. This requires 3 of 3 tactical mastery. You could do it without, but it's a little iffy. So The first part throws me into Berserker stance and cast Recklessness, because Retaliation isn't that incredibly viable for PvE as an Arms DPS. The next one will throw me into Battle Stance, cast Blood Rage in case I happen to not have the Rage, use my Wrathstone, which could be any trinket of choice if you have one, and cast Blade Storm, so that my moves on Blade Storm will crit. A common misconception is that as an Arms Warrior you can't perform interrupts like a Fury Warrior can. However, I beg to differ, and here are some macros to show how you can perform interrupts. The first macro will equip your sword and board and cast Shield Bash. I also have another macro that ties my Mortal Strike to equipping my two-handed weapon. You can use this with other moves, but I just have it equipped to my Mortal Strike. Another one that you can use, which I prefer to use, is my Pummel macro, which will throw me in Berserker stance, cast Blood Rage in case I need it, and will perform the pummel. Well, that sums up my short guide, and thanks for viewing, and if I get any requests, I'll make Fury and Proc guides as well. Thanks again!